Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining and welcome to our webinar, Stay Connected to the latest SonarQube features, where, as you might guess, we're going to review the latest SonarQube features. My name is Tony Graham, and I am joined today by my co-host, Manish Kapoor. Thank you for joining me today. So before we get into the webinar, please allow me to go over some housekeeping points. Today's session will be about 45 minutes. That's including the Q&A at the end. You are invited to submit your questions via the Q&A box in Zoom. Please use the Q&A box and not the chat for your questions you want answered. We do have two panelists joining us today, Anne and Colin from our community management team, and they are tasked with answering all your questions live, as many questions as they can during this webinar. This session will be recorded, and we will send out a link via email in the coming days. And then finally, at the end of this webinar, we have a short survey that'll pop up on your screen, and we consider your feedback a gift, and we do thank you in advance for your participation in that survey. So to go over the agenda today, before we dive in, we have, like I said, about 45 minutes, so about 35 minutes worth of content. We want to get into, we want to go over the key enhancements in SonarQube 10. We're going to go over connected mode and show a demo, talk briefly about different DevOps platforms, go over secret detection and deeper SAST. Then we're going to get into some clean code taxonomy. Some of you may have seen some of our clean code webinars. We're not going to dive deep into clean code, but more how it pertains to the rules you will see and the issues you will see in SonarQube 10. And then we will go into questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my co-presenter, Manish. Manish is a technical product leader with a strong background in product management, developer relation, and marketing and strategy. He is currently Senior Director of Product and Solutions Marketing at Sonar, based here in Austin, Texas. Then as for me, my name is Tony Graham, and I have nearly a decade of experience in software development with a specialization in RPG and .NET. I've been an IS manager, Google Software Apprentice, coach, a software development professor, and then most recently became a passionate advocate for promoting clean code here at Sonar. So with that said, let's get into our SonarQube enhancements for SonarQube 10.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Thank you all for taking the time today. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thanks for being a Sonar customer. My name is Manish, and I'm excited to present some of the key enhancements that we have made in SonarQube 10.x releases. Our last LTS release was 9.9. And what we are going to talk about today is some of the key enhancements that we have done since the 9.9 release. So this is not a comprehensive list of everything that we have done, but just some of the highlights, some of the key things that we have done. Key improvement areas, key features that we have added, and things like that. All right, next slide. So I'll start with key enhancements in 10.x, and I will focus, I'll try to split it into 4 categories to make it easier to digest, starting with analysis and analyzers that we support. So we have, done quite a bit of work in terms of improving the experience and speed and accuracy of our analyzers. We have our 10.x, the current release 10.4, you will definitely notice much faster scan times for all the analysis that we do. You will see we have added support for cloud-native technologies like Docker files, Helm, Terraform, Azure Resource Manager, and Bicep files, and things like that. We recently added Java 21 support, so we can scan rules and do analysis of your Java 21 code. We added support for Misra C++ 2023 rules in 10.x. This is particularly important for people who are building C++ applications and require safety critical rules in as part of their development efforts. We have added a whole bunch of data science library support for in Python language rules. And then we have also recently added the Blazor.NET front-end framework support in 10.x. And then, of course, there's a whole lot of other updates which I cannot cover. It will probably take me a couple of hours if I go through all the updates of all the languages. But we have over 5.6K rules, 5,600 rules in our product now. So we have significantly improved the analysis capabilities. Let's talk about dev and DevOps experience. Tony will talk about the clean code taxonomy and how we are making the product better with our new clean code taxonomy. He'll talk about some of those things. We are also in parallel, we are also investing our engineering resources in clean as you code methodology and learn as you code methodology. For us, it's all about empowering developers to write clean code, as well as while you do that, also give you the opportunity to learn and grow your own skills, the best way of coding and the best practices that you should follow. In terms of DevOps, we have made significant improvements in our GitHub DevOps platform integration. You will find onboarding of projects and onboarding of users and groups and all of those much better with GitHub integration. We are doing the same thing for GitLab. We are also integrating into the GitLab security dashboard for showing the results of SonarQube analysis in there. We are also working on some of the other DevOps platforms in future. Next one. In terms of security, I know security is a big part for in anybody's big part of anybody's code scanning capabilities. For us, we have introduced a new innovation called Deeper SAST in 10.x, and I'll talk about that. We'll spend about 5-10 minutes on that. In fact, I'll try to show a demo if we have time. We have added and beefed up our secrets detection capabilities, and we'll spend some time on this topic as well. We have added, coverage, CWE Top 25 2023 report for security coverage in the product. If you look at our SAST benchmarks for Java, for Python, we have tremendously increased the accuracy of our results and reduced the number of false positives. We have blogs out there which talk about our accuracy for our engine. And this is just, I just called out Java and Python, but we have done similar work across the languages. And then there's the last category of others, which basically is a whole bunch of other things which we are doing in the product to make the experience better for developers and our users, right? So we had seen that upgrades used to result in some kind of a disruption because of reindexing of the database. So we have improved that experience tremendously. We have improved the user management experience within the product. Our Sonar lint, and we'll talk about this in the next topic, is connected mode. If you're not using Sonar lint, this is something you should definitely start thinking about using. And we have made several improvements in connected mode, which we'll cover today. And then we have a whole bunch of UI improvements and a lot more. All right. That was what we have done up until now, but we are not done. We are continuing to invest. We're continuing to make the product better. And if you have any feedback, do let us know through the Q&A panel or through our community forums. We'll continue to think and help bring features that you are looking for. We have, this is not again a comprehensive list of what we are working on, but kind of some things that are short-term in the roadmap. This is not a longer-term roadmap. We have, we added some machine learning rules. We are going to add more for TensorFlow. We have done it for Pandas and Numi already. We're going to add for TensorFlow. We are adding rules for code architecture, which is something net new. We are going to add sustainability rules in the product to help you write code which is optimized for performance and low power consumption. We are going to add a feature called auto config and scanning of C++ in SonarQube. That will make it a lot easier for onboarding C++ projects where the build wrapper can cause some ramp up time in terms of onboarding the projects. We are going to add auto scaling for SonarQube data center edition in the Kubernetes cluster. That's something on our list. And we are going to invest again in the security side by adding a FIPS compliance for SonarQube and then new STIG reports, etc. We are also looking into making our product available on Google Cloud, GCP and SQ Marketplace and AWS Marketplace. So stay tuned for that. Those are also in the works. All right, so let's talk about connected mode. Before we talk about connected mode, here's a poll for you to answer. All right, I see the results coming in. Thanks for taking the time to respond to this poll questions. We have a couple more in this presentation today, but it gives us an idea as to how we talk about the upcoming slides. All right, so from the results, what I see is it's almost a 50-50 split. So there are about 47% of users who are using connected mode, which is excellent. And there are about 54% of you who are not using it, which will help you understand in the upcoming slides why you should be using it and what's the benefits. And we are continuing to improve the connected mode. So next slide. All right, so for those of you who have not used SonarLint and have not used connected mode, a quick intro to what is SonarLint. It's basically a free open source IDE plugin that you can install in your IDEs. We support several IDEs like Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, Eclipse, IntelliJ, most of the JetBrains IDEs. Almost all the commonly used IDEs, we have this plugin for that is available for, and it's free. Right. What it does is as soon as you install it in your IDE, it lets you analyze. It starts analyzing your code in real time as you're writing the code, whether it is a developer writing the code or whether it's an AI assisted copilot like GitHub Copilot or any other. If you're using Amazon Code Whisperer, anything that you're using to write the code, it starts analyzing the code in real time and helps you find and fix issues as you develop, right? So it's a true shift left approach in terms of starting, fixing and focusing on code quality and security before you even commit the code into the repository. This supports 29 programming languages and frameworks. And what is connected mode here? So you can connect SonarLint with SonarQube or Sonar Cloud. What does that give you? Next slide. So basically, when you're coding and if you're connected to Sonar Cloud or SonarQube, you are in a connected mode. What that means is basically SonarQube analysis and Sonar Cloud are in sync with SonarLint in your IDE. So the quality profiles and the quality rules that you have set for your organization, you can sync those with SonarLint, and it basically delivers you a lot more value in terms of adopting code quality standards across your organization. And it helps you analyze your code starting from the first line of code that you write to all the developers in your organization, that when they commit and push the code into the repository, you have an end-to-end solution for yourself to analyze the code base. Next slide. So what are some of the real benefits with connected mode, right? One is, as I said, you can share your team, your organization decisions like quality profile, your project settings, your rule decisions can be shared between the client in the IDE profile as well as on the Sonar Cloud and SonarQube side, right? So whatever you define in your SonarQube project, it can be shared at the IDE so that you can start doing the things earlier in the process rather than leaving them later in the as part of the SonarQube analysis. We have an integrated issue lifecycle management. What that means is basically instead of previously, if you find an issue in SonarQube, you will see the issue there, and then you will have to switch and open up your IDE and find the source code file and then try to fix it in there. What we have done is with a tight integration, as soon as you find the issue in SonarQube or Sonar Cloud, there's an open an IDE button, which automatically pulls you into the context of the file and the problem which was found in that particular line of code where the problem was seen. We have smart notifications to have a communication back and forth between SonarQube and SonarLint. And then one of the big things which you will get advantage of is, and most people don't use this currently, is you can have thousands of secrets, hundreds of secrets that you can detect in the IDE. Typically, secret detection is a capability that most static analysis code tools provide, but most of them do it in the CI pipeline as part of the code repository. They scan it. What is the problem there? I think it's too late. The secret has already gone into the repository and it's already exposed. If you detect and if you catch the secrets and remediate to the corrective action in the ID, that is a much better approach, and it's less costly and less time consuming for you. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in the upcoming slides. All right. So let me really show a quick demo here. I'll not go into the details in the interest of time. We have a lot of slides here. But if you give me the screen, yeah. So here's my ID, and I'm using Visual Studio Code. And in here, I have my project. I've opened up a project. And then I have extensions that I can install on Visual Studio Code. And so if I go here, I can search for the extension Sonar Lint. I can see the extension here, and it's already installed for me. I'm not sure why it's saying installed. Maybe it's updating it. But there's a SonarLint ID extension in the marketplace for whichever ID that you use, and it tells you how to use it. It talks about the features. It talks about what we in the latest version what we have done, right? So you can easily install it, and once you have installed it, you can start analyzing your source code and start looking. As you type your code, you can start looking at it, and you can get, for example, there's a problem here. It'll tell you what's the problem and how do you fix it. So this is basically a quick sneak peek at the Sonar Lint. And now in connected mode, what happens is, let me try again and see if my full desktop can be shared here. All right, Tony, can you confirm if you see it?
Yeah, we see your desktop with the SonarQube.
Yeah. So I have connected my Sonar Lint with SonarQube, and it's pretty easy to connect. You just have to provide the URL, and it generates a token for you automatically and connects the two together. Once you have connected, if you go into any of your projects that you're working on, so let's say I have a project here where I have some issues in one of my projects. I look at this issue, and here's the problem. I have a button here which says open an ID. As soon as I click it, it basically opens the ID for me, and it takes me to the place where the issue is. And then it tells me what is the issue, how can I fix it, and some more information, right? So it makes it super easy for you to go back to the code in your ID and start fixing the issue. And it also provides you with guidance, which is what we talk about as learn as you code. So it teaches you how to fix it and gives you suggestions how to fix it. All right, that was a quick peek at the demo. Can you share the slides again, Tony?
Yes.
All right, with that, I'll pass it on to Tony to cover the next section, and then I'll come back for the security part of it.
Yeah, I think it's worth to point out too, Manish, that SonarLint is completely free. So it's right, like to connect it to, it's right. It's a no cost. It's free. It's open source.
Absolutely, it's a no-brainer. I think if you're not using it, you're not maximizing the usage of our products, right? So SonarQube with SonarLint, using that is a no-brainer in my mind. And this is not marketing. This is actual reality. If you try it and use it, you will find the benefits.
Okay, so let's hop on over to some quick talk about some DevOps platforms. So we have another poll real quick. Which DevOps platforms are currently used in your organizations? And you can select all that apply. So if you're using more than one, that's fine. Let's go ahead and see what platforms everybody is using. Give it a couple more answers are coming in here. Okay. So there's a result. So pretty close there between Azure and GitHub. So I don't think that's any surprise there. So for those that are using GitHub, we'll be talking a little more about that here, about the ease of use between SonarQube and GitHub. But first, we want to talk about multiple DevOps platform instances. So SonarQube can report your quality gate status to multiple DevOps platform instances. So if you have the developer edition, you have one configuration for each DevOps platform. However, on the Enterprise Edition, you have multiple configurations for each DevOps platform. So if you have teams, maybe departments that are using GitHub but have it configured differently, maybe they need to connect to different tools and they each have their own instance, the Enterprise Edition can handle that. Same thing if there's a merger and acquisition. Each team may have DevOps platforms and maybe using the same ones that you're currently using, but they have different needs. Like I said, connecting to different tools. Enterprise Edition can handle multiple configurations of each DevOps platform. The Developer Edition can handle one configuration for each platform. So when it comes to GitHub, since there was 46% GitHub was the DevOps platform of choice. Starting at SonarQube 10.2, you can synchronize project permissions directly from GitHub. So this eliminates the need for manual configuration or custom automation scripts. At 10.3, you can actually auto-provision a SonarQube project when analysis is triggered in GitHub. So this completely eliminates the need for manual syncs of users, of permissions, in groups between SonarQube and GitHub, right? So we really want to simplify this GitHub integration, and really at 10.3, it really starts to seamlessly integrate. It makes it very easy to auto provision that SonarQube project. So as we said, Manish went over this at the beginning, right? Stay tuned. That same kind of easy integration, easy onboarding is coming for GitLab in the near future. So stand by for that, as that'll be the next DevOps platform that you're going to be able to very easily integrate with. And then back to you, Manish.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Deeper SAST. Let's do a quick poll on Deeper SAST and see how many of you are aware of it or using it. Thanks for responding to the poll question. I see we should have probably kept it separate from secrets detection, but nonetheless, I get an idea in terms of whether you all are using it or aware of it or not. All right, looks like the results have come in and almost 80% of you have not heard about it, which is good. You'll learn about it today and hopefully you'll get a chance to try it once you're back in your office. All right, so today, if you look at most SAST tools in the market and static analysis tools that do SAST analysis, they only analyze the user developed code, the code that you are developing, right? They do very little of analysis of the dependencies that you have within your code. And when I say dependencies, it's open source libraries and whatnot that you're using. The open source libraries and dependencies are mostly a black box for most of the SAST tools in the market today. What that means is basically, you are doing partial analysis of your code. You don't have a full view of the code interaction with the libraries. And this can lead to some false negatives, and it cannot give you discover all the deeply hidden security issues in your code. Next slide. So what we have done is we introduced Deeper SAST in August of last year. And it is basically expanding our SAST engine to also cover dependency code, right? So this is not SCA by any chance. It is separate from SCA. SCA is basically talking about, it's about, looking at all your dependencies and telling you whether any of your dependencies or libraries are vulnerable or not, whether there is an existing security, issue with that library or not. That's fine. What Deeper SAST does is basically it uncovers more deeply hidden security issues in your code that arise out of interaction of your code with the dependencies. So as your code interacts with open source libraries, it does some taint analysis and follows through the data flow as to how the code is interacting with the libraries. And then it discovers some deeply hidden issues. We support it today for Java, JavaScript, C#, and we are planning to add more in future. Next slide. So just to give you an idea as to what happens, right? So this is a pictorial representation, and I'll not spend too much time, but essentially it summarizes what I just said. You have SAST tools, which look at the user code, which are at the top level of this on the left side. And then you have deeper SAST, which looks at the code interacting with open source libraries that you're using to build the application. So you have a much more deeper analysis, and it goes to it traverses multiple levels. So if your function in your user code calls a library A, and from that library A you traverse to library B and then to C, if that interaction results in any taint vulnerability, any injection flaws, or any of the security issues, we can help detect that, which most other tools cannot do that, right? So it's all about finding that one or two extra issues and security issues are very costly. So it's just about finding those extra deeply hidden issues before they become issues for you in terms of cost and remediation. So a little bit more about it, and for some of you, it might be, you might know, but just to set the context, the way SAST works is it looks at, source, sink, and pass-through. Source is where the input is the input point of data, something like a form input. Sink is where the data is consumed that that was input into your application, right? So it can be like file writes or database queries. And pass-through is a way of passing the data between source and sink. So, for example, if you don't sanitize your input that you have sent to the sink, there's a chance that it can lead to issues, right? So data sanitization is a good technique to help clean the data and make sure you're passing the data and looking at it before you send it to the sink. Next slide. So this is essentially what happens with and without deeper SAST. In SAST, you just analyze the source code, and you don't have knowledge about the sinks if the sinks are in a library which your code is interacting with. Whereas in deeper SAST, now you have an idea, the deeper SAST engine knows your source code as well as the interaction that your source code makes with the dependency libraries, right? So the issues that we discover are still in your source code, but they are issues that happen because of interaction with the library code which is a sink. So of course, we can find more issues with deeper SAST than with a normal SAST engine. Go ahead, next slide. So this is a very simplistic example of explaining what I just talked about. We although don't support PHP, but for the sake of illustration, I just took this example. So we have a user code which is on the top part, which is shown as a source, is the application code, and then we have a library which is a sink here, which is the helper class, right? So we have a helper class which has a help method, and we are passing it a tainted variable from the GET request, web request, and the code that SAST engine is looking at is your user code. But with deeper SAST, we know that the user code is calling a library in the sink in the helper class, which is making a system call and passing the tainted variable to the system call. Guess what will happen if we just look at the user code? We will not be able to detect what's happening in the because of the interaction of our user code with the library, right? So with this, with deeper SAST, we have now a visibility, and we can detect issues which occur because of a call which was made in the user space with to our library function, to a helper class here in this case. So we can detect more issues. So this is how it works. It's basically it can go deep into traverse the path of your user code and figure out where the issue lies because it has knowledge of the libraries, and we have all that capability within the product. There's zero configuration required from your side. It works out of the box. Just like you do SAST analysis, your deeper SAST will automatically come and find issues for you. So in terms of experience, there's no extra steps required. You could configure sinks in certain cases, but in this case, in deeper SAST, we already have awareness of all the libraries, so you don't have to do anything. Next slide. All right, I will attempt to show you. Actually, I'll leave this demo given that we are 10:30. But if you let me share the screen, I'll just quickly talk about how you can try this demo out yourself. All right, so So there's a sample project that we have made available on the GitHub repo. It's called Deeper SAST demo, conveniently named, right? And I've already analyzed it here in my SonarQube. And I didn't have to do anything other than do the analysis of Deeper SAST demo project, just like I would do with anything. This Deeper SAST demo is basically it's a Java application, and you will get the link from the slides decks. But you can fork it or create a copy of it, and it has the instructions here. So it's a fictitious Spring application where we have intentionally introduced vulnerabilities that occur because of your user code interacting with some libraries, open source libraries, right? So it tells you what the issues are, how they are being discovered, and you can actually try it. There's a whole bunch of, not a whole bunch of, but there's a whole set of instructions that you can follow to set this up, right? And once you set it up with SonarQube or Sonar Cloud, you can actually see the issues like what I'm showing here. I'll go to the issues here. So you will discover the issues that Deeper SAST found. And if I focus specifically on the security issues, it found 2 security issues which cannot be discovered if I was not using Deeper SAST. So in this case, it shows again that there was a source, there was a code that was in the source part of your user code, and then it was calling a sink, and that's where the security issue was created. And then it tells you where the issue is, why this is an issue, and how can I fix it. And once you know this here, you can also, like I mentioned earlier, you can open it up in the IDE and basically fix it in your IDE if you want to fix it, right? So with that, I will pass it. Actually, I do have one more slide on secrets detection. Tony, can you share the slides again? Yeah, so just to recap, what are the benefits of Deeper SAST? It can find blind spots and major unknown hidden issues, deeply hidden issues that occur because of your user code interaction with libraries that you're using, open source libraries that you're using. It is an out-of-the-box experience. There's no extra configuration required. There's no impact on performance in terms of analysis using Deeper SAST. And it comes at no extra cost with all the commercial editions of SonarQube. So it is only a commercial edition feature starting from developer edition. It's not available in the community edition, but it is available on both SonarQube and Sonar Cloud for you to try it out. Next slide. All right, I will spend 2 or 3 minutes here on secrets detection and then pass it back to Tony to wrap up the clean code part of it, and then wrap up the webinar. So secrets detection, right? So secrets detection can be easily done in the CI pipeline. What we do and what value with Sonar brings to the table is basically we can start detecting it as soon as you start writing code in your IDE. And if you are in connected mode, that makes it much more powerful than being a standalone IDE SonarLint plugin, right? And I'll explain to you why that is the case. So in SonarLint, as you write your code, we can detect secrets right away. But if you're connected to your IDE to CI pipeline, we have a feature called custom secrets detection, which is available in Enterprise Edition and Data Center Edition. So if your company has custom secret definitions, we can detect those in the IDE if you're in a connected mode with SonarQube Enterprise Edition or Data Center Edition. So that's a very big advantage for you. Why is it a big advantage detecting secrets in the IDE? Because they have not yet leaked into your repository. If they have gone into a repository, it's kind of too late. You already have secrets out there, and particularly if it's an open source repository, the secret is already out there, and somebody may or may not have found it, but it's a big risk if it's already out in the repository. So if you catch it before it goes into the repository, you don't have to rotate the secret. You don't have to, the remediation cost for fixing the issue is much quicker and faster and cheaper than remediating a leaked secret in a repository, right? So that is a big differentiator for us, detecting it in IDE and also being able to detect custom secrets that you have configured in SonarQube Enterprise Edition or Data Center Edition. Our Secrets Edition feature is open source based. So you have, secret detection code and rules are available, publicly available available. You can look at them. The custom secrets detection is, however, a paid feature. So that one, if you need that, then you would probably need to think about using Enterprise Edition or Data Center Edition. But it does come with Developer Edition. It does come with Sonar Lint. It does come with Community Edition. We have over thousands of APIs where passwords and tokens are passed to the to that APIs. We can detect those. We also cover infrastructure as a code, and we cover scanning of all file types in your repository. And we, in our benchmark tests, have seen less than 5% false positive rate. So overall, I think this is something which we have significantly invested in. And to write custom secrets and the rules, it's not very difficult. It's regex rules, so you can build it. It's just once you write a rule once or twice, you'll get the hang of it, and it's not very difficult. The first time you might find it, but we have help available in our open source repositories how to write, and the documentation is pretty rich as well. All right. And with that, I will pass it to Tony to cover the clean code taxonomy section.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. So in the name of time, I will go over this pretty quick. Like I said earlier in the beginning of the webinar, some of you may have seen our clean code webinars. Some of you may have not. If you haven't, I would highly recommend checking some of those out. So clean code has 4 main attributes: consistent, intentional, adaptable, responsible, which leads to software with the qualities that are maintainable, reliable, and secure. So another way to think about this is if you wanted to deliver code that is maintainable, code that is reliable, code that is secure, you need to develop software. You need to develop your code with consistent, intentional, adaptable, and responsible attributes. And then each of the main attributes have some sub-attributes to give it more context. But I want to really relate it to how you're going to see that now in rules and how you're going to see this in issues in SonarQube. So what traditionally you saw as code smells will fall under the maintainability software, or the maintainability attribute. So code smells impact maintainability. Bugs impact reliability. Vulnerabilities impact security, and then security hotspots obviously impact security. So security hotspots you will still see. They'll still have their tab. You'll still be able to open those security hotspots in connected mode in Sonar Lint if you're using connected mode in Sonar Lint. But I want you to so this kind of starts, so you can start seeing what you were seeing in issues and what you will be seeing. And then you were probably used to seeing like blockers, high impact, critical. We now have different impact levels. So we have high impact, medium impact, and low impact. So for this example, red maintainability means that this issue has a high impact on the maintainability of your software. The yellow is a medium impact, and then the blue is low impact. So let's kind of put this all together. And then, so if we talk about code being consistent, right? It's uniform, it's conventional. Conventional means it follows the language conventions. So how does this now look with our new rules? How will you be seeing those? So if we take a look at the bottom, the future reserved words should not be used as identifiers. What you'll see now is maintainability is red, right? So this, right, it was a code smell. We'll see it as a maintainability. Instead of just seeing a blocker, this is red maintainability. So this has a high impact on the maintainability of your code. And as you will see, it falls under the consistent clean code attribute with the conventional sub attribute. And we will see that so if it's intentional, we will see those rules as well. So here's another one: file upload should be restricted. We see that, it was a vulnerability, it was critical, but now we're going to see it as the clean code attribute as intentional and complete, and it has a high impact on security. And then I'm going to kind of skip all these and show you for the last. So this is what an actual issue will now look like in SonarQube 10.5. We see that it is red, reliability. So this has a high impact on your reliability, quality of your software, right? So it's going to high impact the reliability. We see it's intentional and it has the bad practice tag. And then down on the lower right is the what you normally would have seen before, what you're probably used to seeing, where it was bug, it was critical. Those are kind of being, pushed to the side down more. So we're highlighting the quality impact, right, of that issue, and we're highlighting the clean code. And then the other thing with this issue, you see it's got the lint symbol with the squiggly red line. That means if you had Sonar Lint, if you're using Sonar Lint, this actually has a quick fix directly in Sonar Lint. So with that said, that brings us to the end of our very first exclusive customer webinar. So I thank everybody for joining us for that. Before we get into the Q&A, I would like to go over an upcoming webinar we have featuring Peter McKee, the head of developer relation and community. It's driving DevOps transformation, leveling up your CI/CD with static code analysis. This is it's on Wednesday, April 17th. It is a fantastic webinar, really about improving your code quality using testing and static analysis together. So join us for that. There should be a link in the chat. So once again, there will be a short survey, and we greatly appreciate your feedback if you would take that. And now, Manish, let's move on to some questions.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Thank you all for submitting the questions. We'll take as many questions as we can in the remaining time. Tony, do you want to ask the questions, or should I pick them up on my own?
I can ask them if you. Sure. So when is the next SonarQube LTS release planned?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Our typical release cadence for LTS releases is 18 to 20 months. And the last LTS release 9.9 was sometime in the first quarter of last year, if my memory serves me right. So that means 18 to 20 months from then, which means towards the end of this year, we should have, in the last quarter of this year is when I would expect the next LTS release.
Okay, another question. In what version is Deeper SAST available? What edition does it start in?
Good question. So we introduced it in 9.9. However, the 10.3 onwards, you will see we have added some extra capabilities and extra things in 10.3 onwards. So while you can start using it in 9.9, I think we are beefing it up in the 10.x releases. We have additional new libraries that we cover in 10.x. Yeah, so I would encourage you to, if you want to try this features beyond 10.3 or later.
And then from Renee, how do I enable Deeper SAST?
Actually, that's the beauty of it. It doesn't require any configuration or anything. It's enabled by default for you, so long as you are in a commercial edition, not on the community edition.
And then a follow-up with another one. How do I enable secrets detection?
Secrets detection is also enabled by default. You don't have to do anything. It is automatically on for you. We do not want anybody to leak secrets, so there's nothing needed out of the box. It works.
Cool. And then does Deeper SAST analyzer binary, or does Deeper SAST analyzer binaries, or does it need the source for the libraries?
No, so that is the whole ease of use which we focused on, developer experience, and that's like a brilliant, excellent question. I should have talked about it, but thanks for raising it. So we take care of all the heavy lifting for you. We don't analyze your binaries. We have awareness of the libraries that you're using, and we have this awareness of the open source code for the used to build those libraries. So you don't have to actually do anything in terms of supplying us with your library code or we scanning your binaries. All that is transparent. We take care of it for you behind the scenes, and we keep monitoring in terms of, let's say, we look at thousands of open source libraries. And if we find issues with Deeper SAST detects issues because of interaction with those libraries, we basically flag it to you and let you know. And we keep monitoring. Let's say tomorrow a new library comes in the market, Python library, and which becomes super popular. The whole world is using it for the Gen AI applications. We automatically add that library into the Deeper SAST engine database behind the scenes for you, so you don't have to do any of the heavy lifting or configuration.
And then from Ivan, any plans to sync user access to SonarQube projects based on user permissions on GitLab project?
We are working on it. Ivan, sorry if I misspoke your name, but yeah, that is one of the things we are actively working on, and I expect it to show up in the next couple of releases.
Okay, so one last question, then we need to wrap up. Can you provide a link or explain a bit more about the STIG reports? That sounds very interesting, was the comment.
Yeah, so that's a long conversation, but STIG reports are essentially reports that we will generate to support the security. And STIG, for if you don't know, is Security Technical Implementation Guide. These are the implementation guides and guidelines that DoD provides, Department of Defense in US. And it is a requirement for federal and the US government customers to, make sure they are STIG compliant. So we will provide reports, add reports, security reports in our enterprise edition of the product. We are looking into it. It's still probably about 4-5 months away, I would guess, or a little more. I don't know. But it's on the roadmap. We are working on it. We'll add those reports. If you search for DoD STIG on, you will see the STIG site, the Department of Defense site, which has all the details about what those guides are.
Very good. Well, thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Like I said, for this very first customer exclusive webinar, we really appreciate it. Enjoyed the turnout, enjoyed the questions. Any final words, Manish?
No, I think thanks for taking the time and give us feedback. What would you like to see? What would you like us to cover in future sessions? We want to make sure you take the maximum benefit of the product, features, and capabilities. There are things which we keep introducing, and if there are things which you are looking for, give us feedback. Feedback is always welcome.
Thank you very much.